Hi, this is Roger Conrad. I'm editor of The New World. And today what I want to talk about, just to warn everybody, a little bit about politics. It's unavoidable today when you're talking about a wide range of industries, particularly given the Obama administration's, some would say, intervention in a large number of industries, from healthcare to energy to finance and so forth. What I want to focus on today, though, is energy and the possible impact of this last election, which we had not a lot of things up for vote. A couple of governorships, which, by the way, went, I think, in a fairly positive direction for utility shareholders in those states. And that's basically the way I direct my political comments as an investor. As an investor in energy, on the other hand, it's something of a mixed bag here. The immediate result on the national level of this election was another House seat pickup for Democrats, and particularly in an area of the country that had not voted Democrat, I think, for 172 years. So certainly a very long-standing Republican stronghold there. The reason was something of a division in the Republican Party, which I'll leave for the political pundits to ponder. But how it affects energy investors is basically this. What does it do in terms of the pending global warming legislation or carbon regulation making its way through the Senate? Now, the House has passed its version of this. The Senate is where the action is right now. And the great compromise that we've seen emerge in this area has been concerning nuclear energy. A number of Republican senators represent districts where nuclear power is very widely used and, of course, is very, very important to the energy solution. And what they've been promised on their end of the deal has been more support for nuclear power, a vast increase in the amount of loans to nuclear power. What we've seen, though, is that a lot of these senators are apparently listening to some of their constituents who are complaining about high unemployment, and usually you have Republicans leaning more towards business interests, where Democrats are more likely to pick up on things like fighting higher utility rates and so forth. But now it looks like actually the shoe may be on the other foot. And of course, politics makes strange bedfellows. We have elections all the time. The political parties are in constant contact to try to take over where one falters. And that may be what's happening in this case. I think it's still a little too early to see how legislation will be shaped, but Republicans had been, senators had walked out of some meetings recently where these compromises were supposedly being hammered out. So that may not look so good for nuclear power. I think the place for investors to turn is to look at these areas that don't depend so much on the federal government passing a piece of legislation. And these would be areas like wind power, and particularly in the states where you have mandates for using a certain amount of renewable energy. Geothermal, of course, another area. We have a company, Ormat Technologies, in the portfolio, which has done well to date. I think will do even better going forward. There's certainly a lot of opportunity in that area. Also, areas like the smart grid, and that's basically installing smart meters in various homes. This is an added cost to the system, but regulators in the various states remain very strongly supportive of those spending efforts, New Jersey being one of them. These seem to be areas where spending will go ahead, and that'll benefit our plays in those areas like Itron, for example. So I think that's really the place to focus your firepower. We have a number of plays. I've written about them in the Viewpoint last week. I'd encourage you to check that out again for some of the plays. I think now is actually a pretty decent time to be picking up some of these stocks. We have had something of a come down from the highs reached last month, so some of these stocks are again trading at least at lower prices than they have been. And again, the whole game is long term, and these things are looking very, very good in that regard. So that's all I have to say today. Thanks for tuning in. Look forward to chatting with you next time.